Hey everybody, it's Andy Cloudy Mulder, your self-proclaimed metal mogul. I thought it was about time that I did a vinyl collection update. It's been a while since I've done one, and it's not through lack of buying. In fact, I've picked up quite a bit more than I'd intended, and this has been going on for months now. And I've almost scared myself out of doing vinyl updates because I just had too much to show. Didn't know what to show, didn't know whether to do it all together. But I have decided to take a leaf out of my old mate Mark G with a C's book and just do nice, short 3 or 4 album updates, but on a fairly regular basis. And I'll get to know those albums better, and then I'll have more content to show on a regular basis, which it works for me anyway. So 4 albums to show today, 3 of which I have previously owned on CD. In fact, I probably still have the CDs, which I will probably look to move on now because I'm avoiding trying to double up on anything these days unless it's a few special bands. But you haven't said that. The first one is one of those special bands, so the CD will remain with me. These first 2 I actually picked up from Jürgen, 6 Beers, 9 Wives, as he is now known. He was selling off some of his collection recently, and I managed to snag a couple of fillers really in my collection. Neither are albums that I was falling over myself to get, although they're 2 albums that I really wanted, if that makes sense. You'll see what they are. The first one, Anthrax, one of my favourite bands, Attack of the Killer Bees. I have never ever seen this on vinyl before. I've had it on CD for years, and there is nothing more filler in a collection than an album of B-sides and extras. And it's honestly, it's not something I'll play much at all. I've played it once, and it kind of reminded me why I hadn't played the CD that often, to be honest with you. But when he was selling it, I had to have it. And Jürgen being Jürgen, it's the condition is fantastic, and his prices are pretty good as well. So next time you see him selling something, don't worry about jumping on. You'll really enjoy it. So Attack of the Killer Bees came out in 1991. As I say, it's a collection of B-sides and songs, I think, and releases that didn't really come out in the US that apparently fans in the US wanted them to release. So we have some covers on here, although they are kind of their own covers. By that I mean from Stormtroopers of Death. So we've got Milk. There's a version of Bring the Noise, Keep It in the Family Live, Starting Up a Posse, Protect and Survive, Chromatic Death. So the Sod one, I think, isn't it? I'm the Man 91, which is, do I really need another I'm the Man? No, I don't. But some of my favourite Anthrax covers. So was it Parasite, Pipeline, and Sects? That they came out on. I've got 2 versions of that on vinyl as well, so for 12-inch and an EP. The Ethel Nickel, the nice fucking EP, whatever the correct pronunciation that was. That had those on, but I love those 3 versions that they've done, and they're on here as well. If I didn't want to listen to them, I'd pull out the EP. Belly of the Beast live and NFB, nice fucking ballad. It's oddities and rarities. I collect Anthrax. I had to have it. There we go. Black Wax, Island label, European press, I expect, or Germany, as it probably was. If we were EU around 91, I think we probably were. But yeah, fantastic. Classic era Anthrax lineup. Attack of the Killer Bees. Now, another filler, but this is a favourite band, and I had to fill this collection. I'm only 1 album away from filling up the whole discography, and again, it's an album I don't really need. But of the earlier albums from Dio, this is obviously Lock Up the Wolves from 1990 on Vertigo. again, it's not the most exciting Dio album. I like it. It's not bad. Not bad at all. I'm not going to slag it off. But compared to the 80s output, it falls short of the mark for me. But I've never owned it on vinyl. I've been watching the reissues of this for quite a long time, but it's always more than I wanted to pay because it's not a favourite album by any means of mine. But when an OG is offered and it's an affordable price, you've got to take it. You've got to take it. I mean, there are some good songs on here. You know, Lock Up the Wolves, Night Music I quite like as well. But again, excellent condition with the inner sleeve. So who do you have on guitars here? So yeah, he had 18-year-old Rowan Robertson on guitars. Pretty much a new look Dio lineup. And again on Vertigo, this is just beyond. It's actually the Vertigo Starship label. But the Discogs, I found it was a slightly different variant. All very nice. Again, superb condition. Had Jurgen's polyline sleeves that he added in. Nice artwork. Definitely a collection filler, but one I absolutely had to have in the collection. Only ever had that on CD before. Next up, speaking of Jurgen, we'll go German again. This is Sudden Death, All or Nothing. It's a reissue of a 1987 album by Sudden Death. They're originally from Berlin, so you can get a good look at those guys there. This is straight up traditional heavy metal from an era when traditional straight up heavy metal was pretty much non-existent and thrash metal was king and glam metal was taking the world by storm. But Sudden Death stuck with what they knew and produced this album. I think they may be a one and done. Certainly I think they did this one, and whether they came back after or not, I'm showing you empty sleeve there. So this is on black wax as well. It's a 180 gram reissue. It's on ZYX Records. I have a few ZYX Records releases, and they do a pretty good job. They're fairly basic. The album will come in a non-polyline sleeve. You get the cover, but what you do get is quite a nice and well put together and well thought out inner sleeve that shows you kind of different sort of centerings of original releases. You've got the CD and the album there, some artwork, some live shots, some press cuttings. You've even got a looks like a demo tape image, and then a really in-depth write-up interview with at least one of the band members. So that was a really cool read. It's not going to blow you away, truth be told. Now, this sounds like everything in here is kind of filler, but Sudden Death, so they are traditional heavy metal, but songs like Killer, Dust in the Wind is good. Loaded Brain, that's a bit of an earworm on that one. I do like that one. And Backstage Queen. In fact, the first side of this album I have no problem with at all. But I have to be in the mood to put it on because I know what I'm getting with it. But all in all, pretty solid album. I think it probably sounds better now, 30 plus years later, than it did. Certainly have less of an impact back in the day. But if you find this cheaply, which I did at the time, All or Nothing, Sudden Death, check it out. The last one is more of it's a modern album. It's a new wave of traditional heavy metal band, and it's a UK band, and it's again one of my favourite UK modern traditional metal bands, and that's Eliminator and Ancient Light. I have had this one since release day actually, and it came out on vinyl back in January, I think. I've had it that long. It's just taken that long to get around to really getting to know it. The CD actually came out in early 2022, so I already knew the album when I had this, so I wasn't in a rush just to listen to it. I wanted to grab it so I didn't miss out, but there is the band. It took me a little while to get into this, actually. The first few spins, and I kept going back to it and putting it back on the shelf and going back to it, and it wasn't really clicking, and a couple of things that I've done to rectify that. So I went back and listened to their first album, which I cannot find now. Where's it on? Zero preparation. Anyway, their first album, Lost. Oh my god, I can't remember what it's called. Bear with me for 1 minute. Nothing if not professional. Nothing if not organised. Nothing at all. Last Horizon. Amazing artwork, amazing album, and I had this on a bit of a pedestal. So going into this album, I was probably expecting too much, because they have changed their sound, I think, a little bit on this. It's less melodic, and I think they're starting to branch out and come up with their own sound, really. Even though the first album, it wasn't like a clone of anybody at all, but there was a lot of really heavy 80s influences in there, and there's less so on this. It's a much more, it's a slightly different sound. It's heavier, I think. But when I went back and listened to that first album, it made me realise that this wasn't actually that different. It was... it's heavier, it's got a slightly different vibe to it, but it wasn't as far away from that first album as I kind of convinced myself that it was. Also, the first song, Arrival, is my least favourite song on the album. I don't really like the way it starts, and the vocals just seem to cut in abruptly. I think if Silent Stone was the first track on the album, and then I'll keep Arrival on there. I'm not saying it's a bad song, but the opener, I think, is really important, and it didn't grab me. But if I changed the order slightly, I think it would have done a lot more for me. But an excellent band. I'm going to see them in Manchester with a couple of VC lads, along with Seven Sisters and Riot City in a few weeks' time. Really looking forward to that trip and catching up with a few people, meeting a few people for the first time. And I've seen Eliminator before. Absolutely fantastic live, great vocals, great band. So, apart from that wee little hiccup in the middle, I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know in the comments if you know any of these four bands, what your favourite releases are by them, and I will see you in another video pretty soon. Thanks for watching.